Hey y'all, Bloodwing here, back to bring some grubiness to the internet, and welcome back to Redneck Radio, the live stream where today you get an extra healthy side helping. Oh, let's see what sounds good. Mashed potatoes and gravy, because that just sounds good.
Yep.
Love me some mashed potatoes and gravy.
Mhm.
With me today, you know her from chat and for being on the stream many times before, is Maddie. Say hello, Maddie.
Hey.
Hey. I know what show that's from. You're you're showing your age.
Yes, I know.
and oh, hold on a second. Oh, forgot to mute the stream. Was hearing myself. That's very distracting. Uh, but yeah, how you doing, Maddie?
I am doing pretty good today. How are you?
Not too bad. As I said before, glad the holidays are over. I'm one of them Scrooges. I've mentioned it before. I'm not a fan of the holidays. I'm one of them people that it really stresses out and depresses and all that stuff. You know,
Yeah, I would say I'm right there with you, but I have a husband that does not allow me to mope.
well, I'm pretty even most of the year, most of the time. Able to keep my mental head above water, so to speak. But when the holiday season hits, it's tough. Hey, Ronan out there in the chat on the
Hmm.
road. Hope you ain't driving.
He's listening. He's because he better not because he's trying to finish getting everything done so he can come home this evening and then do his 34-hour reset like I was talking to Bloodwing before he went live so he can
Yeah.
spend Friday with me, get back on the road on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I invite Maddie, I always check first to make sure Ronan's not home because I don't want to interfere. Because I do know what it's like to live with someone that's on the road many days of the week. I was telling her that my father, who you all know, is retired from the post office, but when he started with the post office, he actually started on the trains and buses on the road. And now those haven't been in action in many decades now. But back in the mid 60s, he was on the trains. So that would mean he would be gone 5, 6 days a week and then come home for a couple of days and then back on the road again. So I know what it's like. You want to spend time with them when they're there because that's all you get.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And it's it brings you back. It's yours got found that job a little later on, and I always knew that Ronan was the truck driver because I've ridden with him on more than one occasion for long stints. And it always gets me when I'm on the internet and I hear or I see military wives or trucker wives complaining that their husbands are never home, and it's like first thing I want to do is they were this way because they'll admit somewhere in the conversation that they married into the life. And it's like, it's not like it's different now that you're married. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah.
And I understand it can be lonely sometimes. You can try and fill, your days with all sorts of things and, to try and keep your mind off of the fact that they're either on the road or they're out there defending your country, or in the case of police officers out there patrolling neighborhoods. But when you marry into that into someone that already is in those professions, to me, you knew what you were getting into.
Yep.
So in order to sit there and complain after the fact, after you're married to them, to me, is not a valid complaint because you knew getting into it what you were signing up for.
Oh, my dad, of course, he's retired from the post office, so that's where he spent the majority of his time. But in the early years when I was a kid, he started the post office when I was 6, in 1966. Yes, I'm old, people. But each one, I have 2 sisters, no brothers. There's 3 of us, and each one of us was born to a different profession, so to speak. They used to joke that, I was born to the baker. He worked at a bakery when I was born. My uh, next, I'm the oldest. The next one to me, my sister, was born to the butcher. He worked for a meatpacking company. And my youngest sister was born to the insurance man because he sold insurance for Prudential before. So yeah, it's kind of a joke. But I remember those days, and like I was telling you, I remember, Mom carrying me in after going picking him up at the post office some late night, when he'd come in off the road for a couple of days. But as I got older, he told me stories of his travels. Very interesting. And like I was telling you before, a lot of people didn't know that the post office workers that worked the trains and the buses were armed. Yeah, they were issued federal gun permits, and they were armed. My dad carried a 38, uh, and he never pulled it. Never had to pull it, thank goodness. But it was always their big suitcases. They called those a grip, and inside the suitcase there was actually a holster for their gun. A part of the suitcase, and he was in some sticky situations, but never had to pull it. In fact, those of you familiar with American history will know that there was race riots in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the mid 60s. And Dad arrived in Pittsburgh just as they started.
Ooh.
And had to walk to his hotel room. And it was going from the train yards was not the best areas of town to be in for a race riot.
No.
But he said, he said a few prayers, and because he didn't want to pull his gun, he just didn't. And the crowds just parted for him, didn't mess with him. All this violence going on all around him, but the crowd just parted for him and let him go to his hotel. Another story he tells, he was in Gary, Indiana, which is famous for one reason. Other than being a very nasty town, very crime ridden, it's famous because it's the birthplace of the Jacksons. And he was in Gary, Indiana, and noticed there was a crowd gathered on a street corner. And he asked somebody, says, "What's going on over there?" He says, "Oh, it's those Jackson kids. They're at it again." This was before they were famous, and he walked up, and there were the Jacksons performing on the street corner.
Wow. So, well, it's like I used to, one of my first jobs was working at, a lot of you young whippersnappers won't know what one of these things is, but my first job was at a skating rink working concessions. And there was one particular Saturday that was really, really busy. And I mean, so busy, you couldn't even take a breath, much less take a break. And all I remember is this kid with this head full of just red curls, this little boy with chubby cheeks and red curls asking for a slushie. And so, I sold the slushie, I rung them up, and they walked out, and I turned around because we were so busy, couldn't even pay attention to the people that you were, exchanging goods and services with. You just say, I hope you enjoyed, you guys have a fun time here, and you turn around and you go to the next person. Well, the girl behind me that was bringing more cups to the slushie machine just looked at me, and she goes, "Do you realize you just sold the slushie to Rod Stewart?" I what? She goes, "You didn't recognize him?" I'm like, "Well, it's not like he wears his makeup 24/7. She goes, "That was his kid you gave the slushie to."
Oh my. Yeah. So, skating rinks used to be the place to be. I know they were when I was a young person and a teenager. I've told those stories before on this stream before, though.
Yeah.
You're old when you realize that you retell the same stories over and over, but you just can't help it.
Yeah. I was like, Ronan and I met at the skating rink. He was working in the skate shop, and I was working in concessions. And what I really wanted to do was work either the skate shop or be a rink guard. And that we met because one of the people in management was like, "So you want to work in the skate shop?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, let me introduce you to this person, and he'll let me know whether or not you're fit for the skate shop." So he walks me into the skate shop, and there's Ronan. And we started talking about skates, and he goes, "Well, how long can you, how long is it going to take you to like redo trucks and repack ball bearings?" I said, "Well, give me a pair of skates and time me." So that's what he did. And when in less than 5 minutes, I had the bearings taken out, and I had cleaned them, repacked them, and even, recalibrated the skate trucks. He was like, "Yeah, I need you back here with me. Why do they have you in the concession store?" I said, "I have no clue."
Yeah, back then, roller skates used to come with a little wrench, so you
Mhm.
could change your wheels and reback the bearings and all that stuff. Real quick though, before I forget, because I meant to mention it, and I told Maddie I may have to leave at a moment's notice for just a second, for something other than my bathroom break, because my youngest daughter's supposed to come by today and pick something up, and I don't know when that will be. And if she comes during the stream, I'll have to open the door for her because the back door jams really bad. And the ladies of the family have a lot of trouble getting it open. I can open the door. I know the trick. It's it's kind of the Fonzie thing. You give it a tap and hold it just right, and I can open it. But they have trouble, so I may have to do that. So if I do, apologize, and that's what's going on. But yeah, and Sean, yes, Gary was the murder capital at one point. Absolutely was. That's the right place.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's still a pretty rough area. A pretty rough area. Not a town I would be looking forward to visiting personally, and would do anything to avoid,
Yeah.
honestly. But
That's like my parents. You know the story. I don't know how many people in the chat do, or you. Yeah, I think I said it. After 9/11, my dad was still working. He was working with the Northwest Airlines, who's now was pretty much a subsidiary of Delta. Let's not beat around the bush about that. And after 9/11, they were laying off people or transferring people. Well, we were all in Georgia at the time, about 20 minutes from Hartsfield International Airport. And they gave him a choice of places to transfer. The choices were Memphis, Detroit, Minneapolis, and Seattle. And they had gone to Memphis, and where they wanted, they didn't particularly like the neighborhood, and they really didn't want to move to Tennessee. Both of them had already pretty much agreed that Detroit was out of the picture. They looked at Seattle only to figure out that of the 10 people that took the transfer to Seattle, 6 or 7 of them had committed suicide just because of the crappy weather.
yeah.
So they said, "All right, we're going to Minnesota." That's how they got stuck. As my mother said, that's how we got stuck in Minnesota.
Yeah, they're slowly. You all know that I used to work for FedEx, and FedEx is slowly trying to make Indianapolis their main hub, because right now their main hub, and has been from the very beginning, is Memphis, but they can't grow there. And interestingly enough, the reason they can't grow there is they're sort of landlocked.
Yeah.
By Graceland. Seriously, they can't grow any further because Graceland owns the property.
Wow.
But yeah, they're slowly. FedEx is a huge employer in Indianapolis. It doesn't get a lot of airtime. You won't hear about it on the news, or a lot of publicity or anything. They've just quietly grown. And they were landlocked here for a little while because they bought up all the property they could, and were stopped by the county line. But now they've crossed that county line. So the FedEx property actually travels 2 counties.
Wow.
Once they moved several years ago. It's been several years ago now, but it's been about 10, somewhere in there. They moved the Indianapolis airport. It's actually not in Indianapolis anymore. It's in the next county over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so lots of stories there too. Some of which of what I've told. I've told. Had a chance to be in that an extra in that movie with Tom Hanks, where he gets where he's in a plane crash. What's the name of the movie?
Castaway.
Yeah, where he has the soccer ball and he names it Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. They had a casting call for extras. They weren't going to pay you for it, but you could travel for free to Memphis to be, because in that movie he was a FedEx employee, and
Hmm.
I didn't do it. Didn't do it. Could have, but didn't do it. But
Yeah, I've got, we all have stories of when we were working here and there and, stuff that happened. And I remember the last convenience store I worked at, I literally sat down one day and I wrote a funny little poem. I called it Catharsis, about how frustrated a convenience store clerk is when they sit down for lunch and get bothered by a lottery camper.
yeah, I seen that on Twitter. I haven't looked at it yet, but I did see it on Twitter, and I thought, well, I know now, if I didn't know before, which I did, but I know now what that feels like. I did have to work Christmas Eve. That's one of the reasons it was kind of a lonely Christmas for us. The wife and I both had to work Christmas Eve, so we were unable to meet with the family at Mama Minnie's house, which is the first time since I've had grandkids that I haven't spent it with at least some of them.
Yeah.
So it was a little lonely, but I'm making it through. Uh,
Yep.
we're doing the best we can. I'm just thankful the holidays are just about over.
Yeah, me too, me too. I remember turning 21, working at the convenience store. The manager that I worked for knew me since I was 4. And I told her, look, I don't mind working overnight from Christmas Eve to Christmas Day so I can be up and awake when my kid gets up to unwrap his presents. So I'll work Christmas Eve night to Christmas morning. Please give me New Year's Eve off so I can actually, experience New Year's Eve as a 21-year-old, being able to go out and, legally drink instead of being, at home and sneaking. Well, not sneaking it. My parents would give me alcoholic beverages, but that's beside the point. And she smiled at me. And then the next thing I know, the next day she put the schedule up for the next 3 days. And guess who had to work New Year's Eve?
Mm.
And guess who didn't understand that I was pissed off at her for scheduling me on New Year's Eve?
Now it only makes sense. I expected to have to work. I'm the last person hired there.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
logically speaking and being pragmatic, the last person hired, of course, I'm the
Yeah.
logical choice to work Christmas Eve.
Hmm.
Now, I haven't seen next week's schedule yet because, as I've mentioned before, our manager's been off for a few weeks with her back hurt. So the schedule comes out really late.
Yeah.
I do know for sure I'm off Saturday, and I'm supposed to be off Sunday, but I don't know for sure yet. But I don't know what Christmas Eve schedule is, and we're open an hour later on New Year's Eve. I say Christmas Eve, I meant New Year's Eve. Um, for some stupid reason, I'm like, there's nobody going to come in here on New Year's Eve.
Right.
They're all going to be out partying by that point.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, hey, if they want to pay me, and
Yeah.
I don't drink, so if I have to work it, it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah. I
But
remember South Carolina, working at a truck stop, working night shift, and working New Year's Eve. And this guy came in with 2 girls. Now, the guy was, and I will admit, he has cerebral palsy. And I don't know if the 2 girls were his friends or if the 2 girls were a little more involved. I didn't ask. It wasn't any of my business.
right,
One was walking in of her own volition, a little warbly. The other one needed help getting to the bathroom. And I said, well, who's the designated drunk? And the guy smiled. He goes, the blonde.
I had Christmas Eve was. It came in spurts. It was busy. At times. I mean, it was one of those days where I might not have a customer for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But when they came in, they come in 10 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they all gathered up and said, okay, let's go now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We sold a lot of lottery tickets and that's understandable because that's a common thing for people to give as stocking stuffers.
Mm-hmm.
We sold a lot of scratch offs, but it wasn't too bad. I mean, it wasn't like pull my hair out busy. and I had time to catch my breath in between the little rushes and stuff. So it was not a terribly big deal to work it, other than I missed being with my family. Um, I kind of expected it though. I did going into it. Like I said, it just makes sense. I tend to be a pragmatic person, and it just made sense. I'm the last hire, so of course I'm going to be scheduled to work the day that nobody else wants to work.
Hmm. The one with the least seniority gets the worst schedule. That's the way it's always worked.
Well, yeah,
You know.
my day will come. My day will come. If I stick around, stay in it. One day I won't be the new guy.
Yep.
So. And we were the shop was closed yesterday, so there was no question about that. So
Yeah.
there's talk of them being open on New Year's Day, though, and I'm like, why?
Right. Oh, so
Every
there's some of these decisions, some of these businesses makes no sense to me. It's like, why are you going to be open on New Year's Day? Why be open on Christmas? Because people are just going to other people's, families' houses on Christmas. They're not worrying about shopping on Christmas. They've done all their shopping already. New Year's Eve, people are getting over their hangovers.
I mean, I get it. We're a tobacco store, and people need their tobacco even on the holiday. But from my experience and what happened Saturday, pour this out, most people stocked up before the holiday. They come in and buy their cartons, or they buy 5 or 6 packs, or 5 or 6 cans of snuff, or whatever it is they're into.
Yeah.
And so that they were caught up. But
Yeah.
we also have the extra added thing of being right next door. We actually share a wall with a bar, so I get it. If the
Yeah.
bar's open,
Yeah. Why buy the cigarettes from the cigarette machine when you can go next door to the tobacco shop?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Makes
And
perfect sense.
the drunks come over and buy a lot of lottery, because they get
Yeah.
drunk and they get to think, oh, well, ooh, I'll play the lottery because I'll probably win
Right?
because I'm drunk.
My luck can't get any worse.
A couple of weeks ago, some young fella come in there, and he wasn't drunk, I don't think, but a young fella come in there, and there's all different types of lottery tickets. At least here in my state, you have $1 tickets and you have $50 scratch offs.
I'm never going to. To me, they're pretty pieces of brightly colored cardboard. That's just the way I look.
Here in my state, there are 31 different scratch offs that we sell. Of all different price points, all the way from $1 up to 50. This kid come in, and I am not joking. He bought $400 worth, one at a time, of the $50 tickets.
Jesus.
One at a time. He'd buy one, scratch it off, wouldn't win, buy another. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, call it, end it. I don't know how you get your money. And he had a wad of it because I've seen it. But you really want to do this?
Right?
And all he ended up winning was $50.
I was like, the one time I decided that I would talk myself into buying a $20 scratch off ticket, I didn't win anything. And I'm like, okay, no more $20 scratch off tickets. If I have an itch, a $1 or a $5 one at most, I'm not going any higher than that. And then the next day, my coworker had to tell me, that $20 ticket that you bought, you didn't win anything off of? I said, you're about to tell me something that's going to make me very frustrated, aren't you? She goes, well, the ticket after that was the $500 ticket. And you're telling me this why?
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of regulars, people that are in there all the time, every day, buying lottery tickets. And I watch what they win, because I'm the guy giving the payout. And I watch what they buy, and there's not a one of them that are even breaking even.
Mm-mm.
Hey, Amanda, there's not a one of them that even are breaking even.
No, it's like the truck stop that I used to work at in South Carolina had those video poker machines, and one of the regular customers I made friends with, he goes, "I never win at this thing," and he's getting ready to put the money. I said, "Well, do me a favor, just we've known each other long enough for you to trust a little bit of my judgment, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, how much are you putting in that machine?" He goes, 10. I said, "All right, well, do me a favor. If you get it to 20, Bring me the ticket and I'll cash it out. He said, what? I said, trust me. All right, I'll trust you. So he sat down on the machine and he's playing it. He gets it up to $20, hits the button, gets the ticket printed out, and I give him 2 tens. And this is exactly what I tell him. Put this in your pocket, put that in the machine. Now you're playing with the house money. If you lose the house money, you're done and you're not out any more money. And he goes, why the hell didn't I think of this before?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and if they do win, it goes right back into the lottery.
Right? I'm sorry,
Um,
but if I put in $20 for the lottery and I win 500, I'm done, son. I'm
one of one of my regulars, she's a lady that's in there every day, and in fact, she works 2 jobs because she's the only person we allow in our bathroom. We do not have a public bathroom;
yeah,
it's for employees only. But we allow her. She'll stop in on her way to her second job, so we let her go in there and change her clothes.
yeah,
And then she always buys a lot of lottery, mostly online, not the scratch offs, but she does buy some scratch offs.
yeah.
But she won $100 off of one of the scratch offs, and it went right back into the lottery. Not to mention the $5 tip she gave me. I'm like, you don't. I just gave you the money. I didn't have nothing to do with it, but okay.
Right. The most flabbergasted reaction I've ever seen was this guy we used to have in Georgia. One of the first lottery tickets was called Cool Cash. It was $1. You could win 5,000, but if you won anything over 500, you had to go downtown to the main office, get the thing cashed out. This guy walks in, he buys $5 worth of these Cool Cash scratch off tickets. He goes back to his car. 10 minutes later, he comes out. He comes back in the store, and you not. He just kind of slides the scratch off ticket over and he goes, may I have the address of where I need to cash this out, please? It was a $5,000 winner and he was acting like it was only like 10 or $20.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here when he walked out, my coworker's looking at me, she goes, you have this confused look on your face. I said, if I would have scratched off a scratch off ticket only to find out that I won $5,000, it wouldn't be, may I have the address to where I need to cash this in? I would be screaming my head off to the point where my oxygen would be depleted and my ass would pass out.
Yeah, it cracks me up. You actually don't have to scratch those off. And most people don't know that because they'll scratch them off and scratch them off. Down in the bottom corner, at least here in my state's how it works, there's a little square that you can scratch off. And underneath it is one of those, I don't know what you call them. It looks like a bunch of squiggly lines in a square.
Mm-hmm.
But you can scan it like with your phone or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, those little square looking things.
Yeah.
And actually in our store, we have a little scanner on the customer side of the counter where they can scan. It'll tell them if it's a winner or not. So you don't even really have to scratch them off. Thank you, Mama Minnie. I can't hardly see. Does that say QR code? I can't tell if it's a Q or an O. My eyes are being funky today. But yeah, you just scan that and it tells you if it's a winner.
Yeah. It got to the point where the stuff got so, because some of these scratch off tickets are like the crossword tickets and the bingo tickets, and those are so freaking convoluted and as I like to call them, they're so involved that all I do is I get down to the bottom and I scratch off until that 3 or 4 digit code shows up, and I would. And the people would hand it back across the counter to me and go, can you scan this and tell me if I won? Because I can't ever tell if I won with that thing or not.
Yeah. And that is the same square that we as the business scan to see if it's a winner. And it tells us if it's a winner or a loser and how much the payout is.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got one guy that plays the online lottery. One of our online lottery games is called Fast Play. And under Fast Play, there's like 10 different games. Like there's a word search, there's a roulette, there's one called Winner, Winner, Chicken Dinner. There's all different kind, treasure hunt. It's just a bunch of, and they're like a scratch off kind of like, but they're online. You don't buy the scratch off, you buy it online, and they come out with a really long tape, and so there's a guy that plays them constantly each and every day.
Ugh.
He will buy $100 worth of these $1, $2, $3 games every day. I don't know how he affords it.
Me either.
And he'll come in with a whole pocket full of these things and just hand them to me. These are the ones he's pretty sure they're winners. So I'm scanning them, and when you scan them and they're a winner, a little receipt pops up with how much, and I put it on there, and then I scan the next one, and so on. And I hate seeing them because they don't fit in my basket very well. You got to fold them up because they're so long, and they're all wadded up because he's had them in his pocket. But like he'll come through and he'll win, over all these tickets, $100. He might win $30 worth of stuff,
Yeah.
payout. But he spent $100 to get that 30.
Yeah.
And then he'll turn around and buy another $100 worth. Heck, Christmas Eve, he was in there 3 times buying lottery tickets. And and I know for a fact he doesn't just buy them at our store. He buys them also at a gas station down the street.
Oh wow. It was like I started working in the convenience store in Georgia before they brought the lottery, and then when the lottery started, everybody was, oh my God, we get to play the lottery, we get to do this, we get to do. And I remember arguing with this guy who wanted a cash 3 number, not because I make it a habit of arguing with customers, but he kept wanting 777's straight box. Now, for those of you that don't know the lingo, straight is straight. 777 as it's written. Box is a combination of those 3 numbers. And I kept telling him, I'm sorry, but we don't do 777's box. We can't do 777's box, sir. I'm sorry about that. About the 3rd time I apologized and said that we couldn't do that, he goes, why the hell can't you give me 777's box? I said, sir, quite frankly, how many different combinations can 777 come in?
Yeah.
And the guy behind him went, yeah, dumbass.
Hey, Jay Wolf. Hey, Bansma. And everybody else has come in that I haven't said. Deck Train. Everybody else that I haven't said hello to. Sorry. But hello. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, I just don't understand it. We've had the lottery here since 89. Because they just celebrated the 30-year anniversary of having the lottery. Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
And back then there was only one scratch off, and it was a scratch. It looked like a TV screen. You scratched it off, and you either won a little bit of money or you got a chance to be on this weekly TV show they had, Who's Your Millionaire, where you could win $1 million.
Huh.
It was like a game show. I haven't played it since then. I think I bought like 3 or 4 tickets when it first come out, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And they were only $1 then. I get the appeal of winning big money, but I watch these people, and some of them got a problem.
Yeah.
When you're spending hundreds of dollars every day on the lottery, that's a problem. But it's like I've got this one guy that comes in every day. He plays his lottery, and I don't mind him because most of the people will come in, okay, and they want the online lottery. Okay, I want a Who's Your Lottery, no extra. You got to learn the lingo.
Yeah.
I want a Powerball without the Powerball. I want a Cash 5, a Cash for Life, blah, 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 blah. I want a Daily 3 combo, evening, 50-cent wager, blah, blah, blah. You learn the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of that, there are sheets that you can fill out. You just like fill in the little circles. It's like taking one of those tests,
Mm-hmm.
And you can just slip through your machine, and it automatically prints it out what they want. Right. That's easy. I don't mind that. And he comes in like 15 minutes to closing, and I don't mind because he sits over there at the counter filling his things out to himself. He knows that I'm busy counting cigarettes at that time of the day. He doesn't bother me, and when he's ready, he hollers, all right, I want to run these. But he plays them every night. And he says, this is why I work 7 days a week, so I can play this. This is my fun.
Hey.
I'm like, okay, well,
whatever.
you be you.
That's what would kill me is because my mom did it too. My mom was more the morning cash three, the evening cash three. She did the little tic tac toe thing to like predict the numbers and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And I remember she got frustrated with me because she kept trying to tell me that I was wasting money on my role playing game books. And I find about the third time she said that, she said, I don't know why you waste your money on all this stuff and how it was fun. And I'm like, okay, mom, let's do the math. She goes, okay. I said, one book costs 25 to 30 bucks, and I probably won't buy another role playing book for months. You spend a total of $20 to $30 a day on cash three times seven. That's $210 a week. So $210 a week or $30 every 3 months. Who's wasting less money? She went, shut up, and walked out of the room.
Yeah, I think the most payout I've ever seen on the daily 3 or the daily 4 is like $30.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, geez, this guys, I get it, you're winning money, but if you compare it to what you're putting out, you guys aren't even coming close to being even. Now, I've got one guy that's in there every day, and he's very particular. You don't want to screw his stuff up because he will pitch a royal fit.
God, I know those.
But as long as you get him to his stuff right, he's fine. You know, get him to slow down and give it to you one at a time. And he knows that about me now. Like, you know, okay, give me your stuff, but give me one at a time because I want to make sure. Because I told him, I want to be sure to get this right, and you want it to be right.
Yep.
You know, so let's take this one at a time. But he'll only spend $15.
Yeah.
You know, that I get. Okay. All right. All right. You know, you're in every day, you spend $15 and you might win, you know, 20 of that, 20 back on that or get your $15 back. He doesn't go overboard. But I have far more people that come in and spend hundreds of dollars every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you do this?
Yeah, the saddest thing because the people that I worked with used to joke about it, but it was the saddest fucking thing is between the first and the third of every month, we would call that welfare week. Not because we knew that the people were getting their AFDC checks from the state government and their food stamps from the state government, but we knew that most of these people, women mostly, would come in there at that time of the month, that only time of the month, and blow that whole check they're supposed to be spending the money on the children on scratch-off tickets, cash three, lottery tickets, until all of it was gone.
Oh, I had a person ask me Christmas Eve, came in and says, do you all take food stamps? And I'm like, no, not as far as we know. And then I'm thinking, why are you spending your food stamps on smokes and lottery tickets? What?
Right. Oh my God. It's just, it's sad. It's freaking sad. I mean, I remember when I had my son, long story short, I was a single parent for a while. And, the AFDC check I got was about, I think, $250 a month. And all that was supposed to be spent on Paul. And all that was spent on Paul. So when I saw these people in this convenience store walk into, there and they're spending $200-$300 between the first and the third of each month, I know what money they're spending. And the only thing my brain keeps screaming is, this is not as important as making sure your child has everything they need.
And this is exactly why honest people like me can't get, because I've been trying for over a year now to get, well, a lot longer than that. But you all are aware that for over a year now, I've been trying to get disability. And I finally gave up, got in a shape where I could go back to work, which I'd rather do anyway. I really didn't want to be on disability, but I didn't see at the time that I had any choice. But I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
It's why this misuse. But anyway, I'll get off the lottery thing. I know a lot of it is probably getting boring at this point. We talked about it for a minute, but I do want to point out, Functional says people like to gamble. We as a society just don't treat such addictions properly if they are an addiction, not just a hobby. You're right. And, and I understand, like, I've done some gambling in my day. When I was a younger man in my late 20s and into my mid 30s, I would play the P-Shake, play the sports cards all the time. Yeah. Get into poker tournaments and euchre tournaments and stuff like that. But I always kept it to what I could afford to lose. you know. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I never, maybe it was because of me watching my mom play it all the time. I just got to the point where I didn't even want to. It wasn't something that interested me. It never caught my attention. I was never curious. And I remember one time I went to one of my mom's favorite stores with her list of numbers and her money to buy her cash three. And there was a lady, a new person at the machine. And so I handed over the slips that you put through the machine to print out the tickets. And I'm like, this isn't for me. This is for my mom. And the person behind me went, yeah, I wonder how many times a day they hear that. And the manager turned around, looked at me, and goes, no, that is her daughter. Her daughter doesn't play. How
yeah.
is your mom, by the way? Oh, she's fine. You know, it was never something that caught my attention. It was never quote unquote shiny enough for me to, get stuck on it. Now,
Yeah.
have I had quote unquote addictions before? If you consider a new game that really gets my attention and addiction to the point where I'm playing that day after day, then yes, I've had an addiction. But is it as bad as a gambling addiction? No, because I know that, I have to do other things. But yeah,
Yeah.
addictions are
And like I said, I really didn't want to be on disability. I just didn't see any choice at the time. I'm much happier being able to earn it honestly, and make a living.
yeah.
I've always been that way. I'm not 100% better. I mean, 4 or 5 hours into my shift, I'm walking hunched over. My feet are feeling like all the bones in my feet are broke, you know.
Yeah.
And it takes me all that night to recuperate after I get home. But yeah, and in case you guys didn't catch it, didn't know, because I mentioned pea shakes. I don't know if you know what pea shakes are, but before gambling was legalized in my state, down in the hood, they would have pea shakes, and it's basically it's kind of like bingo. You would bet on certain numbers. It's like the lottery.
Yeah.
You bet on certain numbers, and they had these little peas with numbers on them, and they shake them out, and that was the numbers for the day. Now it was highly illegal, and they would broadcast the numbers in help wanted ads and classifieds. And if you knew the right one to look for, you knew where to get the numbers. But you had to go down in the hood to buy them. So we had this black guy that worked for where I worked at that would collect everybody's money and numbers for the pea shake and go down and play them.
My parents, my dad working for Eastern and then Northwest came home with a betting quote unquote pool, the over under pool. Which football team do you think is going to win, or by how many points? And so I knew about that from a
Yeah, I played the
young
sports
age.
card. I
Yeah.
played the sports card quite often, but I kept it to a point that was manageable. I never went above what I could afford. I always had a rule about gambling: never bet what you can't afford to lose.
Yep.
'Cause- so, but and then I would say, I would get in hold'em tournaments because I'm a pretty decent poker player. I would get into euchre tournaments, which is also a card game, but it's kind of it's a Midwest thing. People
Yeah.
outside of the Midwest don't know about euchre, but I'd get into those. I'm an excellent euchre player. Um, but like I said, I always tried to keep it to what I could afford to lose.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Dart tournaments. I was a pretty decent dart player. I got in a lot of dart tournaments and so forth. And if you can't afford it, folks, don't do it. And if you
Yeah.
have a problem like some of these people I talked about, there are places you can get help. I didn't know this was going to be a stream about getting help for your gambling addictions, but
We never
there
know
you
what it's going to turn
go.
into when we start.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But if you're like that one guy and he understands that it's money he's just throwing away and he's willing to work, 7 days a week so he can do it, and that's his fun, then hey, okay, good on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, if they know, and that it's just the people that are just in that unhealthy loop that they're losing everything because this it's this one. I'm going to win everything with this one, and everything will be okay. You know, that particular mentality, chasing the feeling of what it feels like to win something. Now, everybody knows what it feels like to win something at one point in
Yeah.
their lives, and it's some of us are like, cool, we won, we're in the moment, we like the experience, and then we move on. But there are some people that are addicted to that, and they'll do anything to get that feeling back. And those are the people that I believe, because I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, mind you, but I believe that, those are those kind of people that have that addictive personality that become, addicted to gambling and, and things like that.
Yeah, I'm just never, it never ceases to amaze me to see the amount of money that some of these people will come in and spend. And like I said, we share a wall with a bar, and then it's not just the regulars. You get the ones that aren't regular, but they'll get over there and they'll get drunk, and then it sounds like a good idea to spend the rest of their paycheck on lottery. You know,
Yeah.
we had this one guy come in the other day. Oh my gosh! First of all, it's in kind of like a strip mall kind of thing. There's to to the to the west, it runs east west. To the
Yeah.
west, there's the Family Dollar store, and then there's a bar, and then us, and then there's two more, but they're empty. There's been several different businesses in and out of those units. To our east, but uh, and we've got big glass front windows, and I watch people. You can always, to see if anybody's going to pull in, and I need to help them. And I seen this car pull in, and they didn't park. And it looks like a car full of kids, but there's one adult, and he's like arguing with the kid driving. Pull in over there. Well, when the adult got out, he was so wobbly, he barely made it in the store.
Wow.
And so right away, I've got it. I already got what the situation is. He's got his kids driving him around because he's drunk. And he comes in, he goes, "I'm sorry about that. My kid doesn't know how to park." And I'm like, "That's not what you should be sorry about at this point, dude."
Right.
But there was like 3 or 4 times I swore he was going to fall down before he got done. And he just come in to buy his tobacco and tubes and go. But I'm like,
Yeah.
people.
I remember there was one time I was training this girl. It was in her second week of training, because it's this particular convenience store. You got trained for 2 weeks. Second shift. I looked out the window, and there was this guy that was putting gas in his Ford Bronco. Now I remember this, not because it was a Ford Bronco, but because every time somebody opened the door, you heard his drunk singing as he was putting gasoline in the Bronco.
Right.
And the trainee looked at me, and I said, "Okay, here's the protocol. If he comes in here and he puts any alcoholic beverages on the counter, you are not under any circumstances to sell him anything alcoholic, because if he gets into an accident, we're liable, because we're the last people that sold him something alcoholic."
Mm-hmm.
She went, "Okay." So he comes in the store, or staggers in the store, comes in, and inevitably he goes by and he buys ibuprofen and goes down to the cooler where the beer is, grabs a 12-pack of Bud, puts it on the counter. And the trainee goes, "I'm sorry, sir, but it looks like you've been drinking a little too much already. I can't sell you that." And he comes back with, "I ain't drunk. Sell me the beer."
Yeah.
And she goes, "I'm sorry, sir, but to me, you look inebriated. We can't sell you that. Sell me the damn beer." So they're going back and forth. By this time, I've already ducked under the counter. I have already called College Park Police Department. And it has progressed to the point where he goes, "The police." She goes, "Sir, I'm going to have to call the police if you continue being belligerent." And he goes, "You ain't got to call the police. Give me a breathalyzer. The police ain't got nothing to do with this." I had just gotten off the phone with the police, popped my head in the window like the Empty Arms Motel when you go ding ding. And
Yeah.
I went, "Sir, your breathalyzer's on its way."
we
He was
actually
he was
we
so
actually
drunk.
sell breathalyzers, believe it or not.
He was so drunk he thought that we had billed him wrong. Okay. So when the police got there, he was showing them the receipt of what we charged him on the way to the patrol car. That was how far gone he was. There were two wreckers 20 minutes later arguing over who was going to get the tow.
Well, being next door to a bar, that those situations do happen. They're rare,
Yeah.
but even after, since I've been there, they've had at least two people carted off by the cops because they just come in the store and then they get belligerent,
Yeah. Hmm.
and but oh, the stories of being retail.
Oh yeah. It's I'm of the mind that especially nowadays, when you graduate from high school, I think it should be mandatory for you to A, work retail during holiday season, and B, work as a server in a restaurant, at least for 3 months apiece.
Well, I'd had some experience when I was younger. That's why I always make it a point to be very nice to the cashier, whether I'm in a grocery store or a gas station or wherever I'm at,
Yeah.
because they've probably had a rough day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And even if they look grumpy themselves, you'd be surprised how soon they turn around and be nice most of the time. 90%, 99% of the time, if you're just pleasant with them. Hey, how you
Mhm.
doing?
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
it takes. Hey, how you doing?
Hmm.
You see them smile, and they come around and they treat you fine because
Yeah.
they're just a person trying to do a job.
Yep. I
That's
mean,
it.
and sometimes it takes everything we have not to cuss your ass out when
Yeah.
you're being disrespectful and belligerent because
Uh,
oh
um,
boy. Whew.
Amanda says also my mom used to drive us around while she was drunk and then make us go into the store and get her smoked. It doesn't work at my shop. It is illegal to be on the premises if you're under 18.
Yep.
It is illegal where I work. So if you come in, and I have to do it each and every day, if somebody looks young and is questionable, I have to. Do you got ID? Can I see your ID?
Yeah.
And keep that handy because if you go to buy something, I have to scan it.
Right. Oh, I remember one time this kid came in and I had this funny feeling. So I opened up this magazine and quote unquote acted like I was reading it, and this kid stuck this 10 king size Snickers down the front of his pants and was on his way out the door.
Yeah.
And right when he got to the door, I said, "Are you going to pay for that or am I going to have to call College Park?" He goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to ask you again. Are you going to pay for that or am I going to have to call College Park?" Man, I didn't take nothing. I said, "I don't know who's going to want to eat the Snickers after where you've put it. I'm just asking you if you're going to pay for it or am I going to have to call the police?" He came back around to the counter and goes, "How did you know?" As he was taking out his pants. "How did you know?" I said, "For future reference, you ain't much of a shoplifter since you didn't realize that at no point during my magazine reading did I turn the page."
Yeah. Amanda says it was illegal for us to be in the bar hanging out while she drank, but that never stopped her. Yeah, I guess they didn't care to take the risk. My company has a no tolerance policy, and I know for a fact they do watch you. There are 8 cameras in my little shop, and it's
Wow.
small. There are 8 cameras. Every angle is covered. And the headquarters for our region is just down the street. I know for a fact that they are tapped into our cameras and do watch us. That is fact. So it's not worth it to me to lose my job just because I don't want to card some 18-year-old, you know,
Right?
or let them run around if I know they're not 18. And it's happened. I've had people and they're not 18. I've said, I'm sorry, you can't be in here. I'm sorry, but it's the law. You have to leave.
Hmm.
I've even had parents bring their kids in, and I'm telling them that they can't be in here. I'm sorry. Had one guy bring his little 8-year, looked to be about 7 or 8, brought her in, and I'm sorry, sir, she can't be in here.
Yep.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Leave her out in the truck? And I'm like, I'm sorry, and I'm thinking, well, you should have thought about that before you brought her here, but I didn't. I said, I'm sorry, but it's the law. She can't be in here.
Yeah.
I think I told that story because he was the one that says, well, you should have a sign on your door. I'm pretty sure there is. There's this big white sign right on the front of the door. It is illegal for anyone under 18 to be inside these premises.
Well,
I guess you can't read.
some
But
people just don't care. I think.
yeah.
I don't think it's the fact that they can't read. I think it's that they don't care, or they don't think you're going to care, and they don't realize that it's your job if you allow them in against store policy or against the law.
Yep, they have a zero tolerance. If you get caught doing that, there's no question you're fired. If we get caught not IDing someone that's under 40, which I think is ridiculous, but it's the rules. If I get caught not IDing someone under 40 when they purchase something, no questions asked, I'm fired.
Yeah.
Zero policy. I think 40 is a ridiculous age limit for carding. I could understand more 30, because there are a lot of 30-year-olds that look very young. But 40 is kind of silly. But that's the rule, that's the law, and that's what I got to abide by. And it's not worth it to me to lose my job just because you don't want me to card you. Most people are understanding. You ask to see their ID. Oh, yeah, sure. And they'll give it to you.
Yeah.
You get those oddball, like just a couple of here and there that are got to complain about it.
Oh yeah, it used to be when I worked at Home Depot for a while. For those of you that don't know, the only credit card out there that is non-transferable, meaning you can't let your spouse or significant other use it because their name isn't on the card, is the American Express card.
Yeah, we don't accept American Express.
Yeah,
it's the one card we don't. And the limo company that I worked for did not accept American Express either.
Yeah. It also used to be that if it wasn't signed on the back, you had to ask for ID. So this lady comes in my line in Home Depot, and she has like $200-300 worth of stuff. So I flip the American Express card over, realize that it's not signed, and I asked her for her ID. And she starts raising this fuss. And the next thing I know, she gets a tap on the shoulder. She turns around and she goes, "And what do you?" Oh, hello, officer. County police officer. And he goes, "Ma'am, she's just doing her job. I suggest you give her the ID, or I'm going to have to take you in for causing a disturbance in public."
Yeah. Yeah. We got this one guy that comes in, older guy. He's obviously over 40. I don't have to ask for his ID. But one, he expects you to remember what cigarettes he wants every time. Now, I'm the new guy. And so for the first month and a half I've worked there, I've just been focusing on doing the job right, not on remembering people's cigarettes. That'll come later.
Yeah.
Because you get your regulars and they always get the same thing,
Yeah.
But he'll just pitch a fit. You remember me now? When he tells you. And then I've got to ask for his birthday.
Yep.
And I've explained it to him. The cash register pops it up after you scan a tobacco product. It scans it, put in the birth date, and it will not let you get past it unless you do.
Right.
And he'll just go, "I think that's the stupidest thing ever," blah, 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 blah. And he'll just give you some bogus birth date, like 1862 or something.
Yeah.
So for him, I just make up a birth date, when he comes in, because it's not worth the hassle to me. He's obviously over 40. I don't have to card him.
Right. Right. Your boy Pat Harley. Anyone accepts American Express, what is their deal? When I used to have a business that I ran out of my house, the big deal was if you decided to accept American Express, you as the merchant had to pay for the privilege to American Express of accepting American Express.
Yep.
And they took a percentage cut off the top on top of that. So not only did you have to pay a yearly privilege to accept the American Express, while everybody else took anywhere between 5 to 10% of the sale, American Express would take like 15%, a little bit more than everybody else did. Yep. So they're outrageous in their agreements as far as the merchant side is concerned.
Yeah, and they're still that way, and that's why a lot of businesses won't take them. You see all the advertisements that make it seem like, well, you're nobody unless you have an American Express card. And I have to laugh because for years now, having had different jobs that are on the other side of that, I know that it is the least accepted card out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cryptic, for the donation. I'm addicted to fried chicken wings. Help me. Well, that's an addiction I'm down with. You
I
know.
can help you eat them.
Yeah, yeah. If you got any extra,
Yeah.
I'll be glad to take them off your hands.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
and I had an American Express card too as a consumer, and yeah, even as a consumer, they would charge you the privilege of having an American Express yearly, and if you had your basic American Express, the old blue, turquoise, and white one, whatever you bought 30 days later, that's what you owed.
yeah. I've seen several people in chat mention that they're older, so they find it a compliment because they're carded. And yeah, most people
Yeah.
feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, if they're of a certain age, over 30, they're like, well, thank you
Yeah.
for thinking I'm young. But you do get those ones. And how big a deal is it really to reach in your wallet and grab your driver's license? That's all it is. Just hand me your driver's license, let me scan it, which takes all of half a second because I scan it right under the same scanner that scans your product.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a kind of a barcode on the back of your driver's license, and it has all that information on it.
Yeah.
Scan it, hand it right back to you. How big a deal is that? My gosh.
Yeah, for some people, they just make it a bigger deal than it needs to be. And I remember what I love is after working so many retail jobs and convenience store jobs, the look on the cashier's faces when I'll ask for a pack of cigarettes, and before they even ask for my ID, I'm handing it over. One of them looked at me and went, "Oh, thank you." I said, "I used to work at convenience store." She goes, "Oh, a sister. Thank you for understanding." Yeah, here you go. You're never going to get an argument out of me.
Yeah. And who is this? It's, let me go back. Oh, a Grill and Pirate Pete at Target. We have to scan the ID for alcohol. Yeah, I have to scan. If you're under 40,
Yep.
I have to scan it. Above 40, all I got to do is ask for your birth date. But,
Yeah.
And you do explain this to people, but they don't care. I have to do it. It's the rules. It's the law. It's not us. It's state law. I have to.
Yeah.
And can get in serious. Not only can I get in serious trouble and lose my job, but then the shop gets fined, and it's possible that you as an individual can get fined.
And in some states, not only do they get fined, they can have their license for selling that particular substance yoinked, which means no more business.
Yeah. If you're a smoke shop and you get your tobacco license, and you do have to have a license to sell tobacco, if you get your tobacco license yanked, you can't do business anymore.
Yeah.
You're done. And that fine is not small. I think it's like $10,000. I don't have $10,000 laying around just because I don't want to card you. No, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it gets me. And then you have what I understand that 16, 17 years old. That's a lot of states will hire a kid at 16, 17 years old, and I get that. My whole thing is this: put them in a position that is legal for them to be in, to where they don't have to sit there and call for somebody to ring up your smokes or your alcohol because they're not old enough to sell it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I've worked retail. Yes, I have patience, but God, it's fucking annoying when I put a 6-pack at a register and the cashier across from me, "I'm sorry, I have to call a manager because I'm not old enough to ring this up."
Yeah. Well, that's not going to happen at our shop, because since you've got to be 18 to be in there, obviously you got to be 18 to work there. And right now, 18 is the legal age for smoking.
Yeah.
That may change soon, apparently, because I see where Trump signed in a bill. He approved the go-ahead to seek a 21 age limit for smoking.
Wow.
I hope they don't pass that, because that's going to be such a pain in the butt for me in my job. Because that means now, instead of having to card people I think are 18 or younger, I got to start looking for people that look younger than 21.
Yeah.
You know, and all those people between the ages of 18 and 21 that could come in and legally smoke, now suddenly it's not legal.
Yeah.
And those people are old enough to vote.
Mm-hmm. It
You
just
do
is.
the math.
Yeah, some laws don't make any sense, and it's as my dad would, as my mother and father would say, at 18 you can protect your country and join the military, but you can't drink until you're 21. Bullshit. And it's some of these laws don't make any sense. Like in Georgia. Now here's the thing. It's illegal to possess marijuana in Georgia. It is illegal to distribute marijuana in Georgia, but it is not illegal to smoke marijuana in Georgia. What the
Yeah, it makes no sense. Thank you, Cryptic, for the donations. It already passed. Yeah, I mean, I know it got past him. I just don't know how far down the line that is. You know, in the political process.
Yeah.
And it may be something too that has to be ratified in each and every state. I don't know. I've not looked. I'll admit I've not looked into it very hard, and I should, since that is the business that I work at. But yeah, it's if it comes down and they do change the age to 21, it's going to be a pain in the butt for me.
Yeah.
Uh, you know. Yeah, all you need, card everyone, sell to no one. That's a good business model, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it. Smoking's bad for you, and you shouldn't smoke. I've been a smoker for 47 years. I get that, but people should be able to do what they want to, even if it's harmful to them. If they're live legal age, and I just don't see how changing it from 18 to 21 is going to make that big a difference. Because when people start, and real quick, Cryptic, thank you. It's already law, actually, 90 days from now. Yeah, well, yay. Uh,
Yeah.
you know as well as I do, and any smoker knows, you didn't learn to smoke at 18. You didn't learn to smoke at 21. You learned to smoke at 12, 13, 14.
Well,
That's what
I
happened.
actually learned to smoke at 18, but only because that's when I started working in a convenience store after I had my son.
Yeah.
Correlation? Because it's kind of, I guess I did it as a curiosity by then, because hell, you're in a convenience store, they're above your head every time you work. It's like, okay, so what's the big deal? Book crap.
Yeah, the majority of people I know that are smokers, though, started at a much younger age. They started like I did, stealing cigarettes out of my dad's pack. You know, it's just not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a difference. They'll just continue stealing them out of their
Mhm.
pack, or find someone that's old enough to go buy it for them.
Yep.
And unlike alcohol, and it's perception, but unlike alcohol, most people are going to say, well, it's just cigarettes. It's not like I'm buying them alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it. If you get caught doing that, that's illegal. But people aren't going to think about that or care. Thank you, Cryptic, for the donation. Passed as part of a military spending bill. Yeah. But I just don't feel like it's going to do that much good.
No,
It's just
it's
like
not.
that. We've been passing out pamphlets at our counter to people, anybody that buys a menthol product. We've
Yeah.
been passing out pamphlets because most people probably don't know that mixed in with this whole push to get rid of flavored vapes is anything menthol flavored.
Hey, that's mentholist.
Yeah.
Y'all knock that off.
So
Well,
cool. So Newports, Cools, Salem's, all menthol cigarettes, all menthol small cigars, everything would be covered under that.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. In case you guys are wondering, I'm the occasional smoker of menthol cigarettes. Dang nabbit. I remember the first time. Okay, You'll probably remember this too. First, they came for the Marlboro Man. Then they came for the Joe Cool, the Joe Cool campaign from the Camel cigarettes,
Yeah,
saying that oh, those appeal to children. They made it look
because
cute
he
and
was a
cool.
cartoon character. Yeah.
Yeah, so no more Marlboro Man, no more Joe Cool. But then you had, you couldn't advertise cigarettes on the TV. So then they were in magazines and on billboards. I'm like, yeah, because that makes sense that you can't advertise it on TV, but they're going to spend anywhere between $1,600 to $4,000 a month to put it on a billboard instead.
Oh, well, I remember. Well, Grillin' Pirate Pete says I'm somehow getting a faint echo. I don't know why. I'm using earbuds, so it can't be that. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Hopefully, it'll go away soon. Not the stream, the echo. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that menthol was kind of slid in under the radar on that flavored vape thing, and it is.
Yeah.
So, which makes no sense to me. Menthol cigarettes have been around forever, since before I was ever born. There was menthol cigarettes.
Oh God, yeah.
And
I remember cracking up one of my coworkers because this lady came in the convenience store and she goes, I can't remember what brand of cigarette my husband smokes, but I remember that it's in a green and white package. So I just kind of smiled and I said, well, those are Salem's, Newport's, Cools, Benson and Hedges. She goes, do you have a phone? May I use your phone? Okay. So slid the phone across the counter. She called home to get the exact name from her husband. And before she hung up, she goes, the next time you're out of your damn coffin nails, go and buy them yourself. She hung up the phone and she goes, okay, before I forget, they are Benson and Hedges Deluxe Ultralight Menthols. I said, oh, the ones with the extra long name. She goes, yes, ma'am. And he expects me to remember that even though I don't smoke.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be amazed. That happens to me at least once every day. Somebody gets to the counter and says, I don't know what they want.
Right.
And so we start going through every product I have. Now, I'm a smoke shop. That's what we sell.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm a gas station with a few brands. I'm a smoke shop with many, 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 many brands I had never heard of even as a smoker.
Yeah.
And they want to figure out what it is they want, and then they'll call to whoever their significant other is, to find out what it is.
Yeah. That's the one thing I don't like about Texas is they don't have Salem cigarettes anywhere. So I have to find another brand of menthol cigarettes because for some strange reason Salem didn't make it this far south west. So it's like because I love a good Salem because they're smooth and they're really smooth smoke.
Yeah.
Mike Savage. I never liked menthol cigarettes. I had a friend of mine that would smoke Marlboros or Marlboros. And every once in a while he'd look at me and he'd go, I'd give you one. He goes, look, I'll give you one of my Marlboros for one of your toothpaste cigarettes. You want to trade?
Yeah. Now, see, before I started making my own, Marlboros is what I smoked. I smoked Marlboro Reds, Cowboy Killers. Marlboro has, oh my God, all cigarettes have. Used to be when you bought a cigarette, and if it was a light, it said lights on it.
Yeah,
if it was an
light,
it says ultralight. If it was menthol, it said menthol.
Mm-hmm.
None of them say that anymore, and Marlboro is the worst. Do you have any idea how many different kinds of Marlboros there are now?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can imagine because you've got your menthol, and then you have your menthol with the light green, then you have your menthol with the peppermint, and then you have your full flavor. You have what used to be called lights, which are now gold.
They have special blends. They have Southern Cut. They have Special Select, and that's in both red and gold. They have NXTs. They have blacks. I am not exaggerating when I'm telling you there are at least 20 different kinds of Marlboros now.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that. And you know why they did that? You know why they took the light and ultralight labeling off the packages?
Why that?
Because some idiots out there thought that lights and ultralights had nothing to do with the taste of the cigarette when you do the draw, but the fact that you got less nicotine when you took a draw.
Yeah.
That they were less harmful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
That's why.
none of them are labeled. So, and there's no generalized formula.
Mm-mm.
No, for instance, a Marlboro Light is in has gold on the package. It's white with a gold package. Gold. Marlboro Ultralight is white with a silver.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You
Yep.
learn that as you go along and you sell them. You go to other brands and their lights might be in a blue package.
Yep.
Or something completely different. You're like, there needs to be some standardization here, since they're not listing it on it, because people won't ask for, okay, because we sell a lot of a brand called LDs. It's a generic brand, and it's our cheapest cigarette. They sell for $3.65 before tax. So they're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And people don't say, oh, well, I want the LD blues. They'll say, I want the LD lights. Okay, is that the blue or the yellow or the silver?
Right? I mean, the only thing that you can count on is if they're not menthol, they don't have green anywhere on the package. If they're menthol, there's green somewhere. Some form of green somewhere to let you know it's menthol. But that's about it.
Well, the LDs have menthol too, and they have menthol and menthol lights, but they're different shades of green.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it's probably you all don't care about cigarettes. I'm sorry.
We're sitting here talking about convenience stores and cigarettes. Some people in the live chat are probably going, okay, when are they going to talk about something else?
Yeah. It's what I do for a living, folks. So yeah, I think about it. And yes, Jedi Goes Where we do sell American spirits, and they come in like 8 different colors, including yellow, orange, green, blue. It's I just say, okay, which color is that? When somebody wants one, which color is it? Or if they want a Marlboro, since there are so many different types of Marlboros, we actually have 3 rows that goes across 2 shelves. So 2 shelves, 3 rows in each shelf of nothing but Marlboro product. That's how many there are. And I'll just put my finger up there and say, when I point at it, because there's just so many, and the marking on the package is so poor that it's like, is it this one? And those, no, it's down, over 3 to the left, up 1. Okay, that's it.
Right. Yeah. It was just, I remember working with one lady that, that smoked the 120s, the extra long ones. Yeah. And I always asked her when she, why she smoked those. This is when we were able to smoke in the store. And she goes, oh, you'll figure it out in a minute. So, it's like the store empties out. We reach for the cigarette. We light a cigarette. We get like 10 people in the store as soon as we light a cigarette. Not a car in the parking lot. Flip, 10 people in the store. Yeah. And so we stop. We're ringing everybody up, and everybody leaves. And by the time, I turn back around, I have maybe 2 puffs of my cigarette left. She's got about half of hers left. And she goes, this is why, remember, this is Georgia, y'all, and I'm not making fun of this accent. I can actually speak in this accent. And this is why I smoke 120s, because the 20 burns and you got the 100 left.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, in my shop, as I've mentioned before, we allow smoking inside the shop.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go out to take a smoke break. But I can guarantee you, if I light a cigarette, I'm going to get a customer.
Oh, yeah.
Every freaking time the parking lot can be empty, the second I light a cigarette, 5 people are going to pull up. Yeah. So I always make extra, because I make my own and take them with me, because I know about half the ones I light are just going to burn up in the ashtray.
It's like the Murphy's Law of retail. It's like if you work in one of those places where it's basically a loophole in the labor law. You don't have your get a 15-minute break, and you don't get lunch, because the reasoning of the government is, since you have lulls in between busy times, that's when you can take your break. That's when you can have lunch. So there's not any designated lunch breaks, at least in a convenience store.
No.
I don't get any breaks
Since I'm part-time, I get no designated breaks, no designated lunchtime. I do bring a lunch and I eat it, but I have to eat it catch as catch can whenever I can find time.
Yep, bites in between customers is what I used to call it.
Yep.
Yep. Because if you sat down to eat, the store could be empty. Nothing could happen for a good 5 minutes. Not a soul in the parking lot. Nobody around as far as the eye can see. As soon as you sit your butt down to eat or light a cigarette, you get somebody in the store. Happens every time. Every freaking
And there you are at the counter trying to help them with a mouthful. I'll cover my mouth. Most people are understanding. They're like, yeah, don't worry. I was like, I'm sorry you caught me eating,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, don't worry about it. I understand.
Yep.
Uh,
That's where I came up with the poem of the store clerk and the camper, because every time, man, and it's just with my luck, they stayed there the entire time I was trying to eat my lunch, and I'm like, oh, really, really? Because the lady actually came in the third time she came in. Oh, I'm sorry, am I interrupting your lunch? As she's handing me the scratch off tickets.
Yeah. Amanda says, I used to work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift at gas station, still got no breaks for lunchtime. Yeah. And I'm glad that our shop's not open overnight. It closes at 7 or 8, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to work. And it's in my neighborhood. I can literally drive there in 2 minutes. That's how close it is. And it'd be quicker if I didn't have like 4 stop signs on the way. It's literally almost within walking distance. If I was in better shape, I could walk there easily. But it's not the best neighborhood. It's right next to the bar, and I really would not want to be open, because as it is, even just having evening hours, there's people that come in that look pretty sketchy, and you're like, okay, are they? Well, this was Saturday night, I think. Last Saturday night I was working and I didn't have any customers. So I'm sitting they've got like a tall stool you can sit at on one end of the counter. Yeah. And I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, and one of those rare occasions where a customer didn't come in. So I was actually able to smoke. And I was looking out the window, and pulled up in front of the bar in front of us is this one guy and another guy. And they were both in biker colors. I couldn't tell what club, but they were in biker colors, leather jackets with colors. And one walked to the other's SUV and obviously bought a pistol off of him.
Oh, wow.
It was so obvious because he walked away and he's carrying the pistol out in the open across the parking lot. And they're looking like they're going to walk into my shop. And I'm like, oh, crap. Oh, no.
Right.
But they didn't. They went in the bar. And I was like, oh
yeah. It's like I took that from working convenience, because they tell you cooperate with the person. In the case of a holdup, cooperate with the person. Your life is not worth more than what you have. Your life is worth more than what they're going to take from you. Blah blah. So I go from there to delivering pizzas. And I cracked up this police officer. I didn't realize he was a police officer. All I knew is I had to go to this house and deliver this pizza. So I'm knocking on the door. The wife opens the door. The guy in the back goes, hold up. And I unclip my fanny pack. Yes, I had one. I unclip my fanny pack, and I'm holding my fanny pack in my left hand and the pizza in the right. And I went, here you go. And the guy goes, wow, that's the quickest reaction time I've ever seen. I said, I'm convenience store trained, sir. He goes, I'm a police officer, and you just made my day. That's funny as hell. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I said something that triggered that. I'm like, hold up, or 2 words you don't say to an ex-convenience store employee.
No. Nope. And we're told the same thing. Don't argue with them. Don't fight with, just give them, which you don't have to tell me that. That's the way I would be. It ain't my money. I ain't dying for it. And, even if they wanted me to open the change safe. Yeah. Okay. Now I don't have a code to the main safe, so I can't open that, but, and we even have a panic button, the little button under the counter out of the way that you can hit. It's a silent alarm. We're told not to even hit that until they've left the premises.
Yeah.
Cause it's just not worth risking your life over.
Yeah, we used to have in the drawers, there used to be what they called a mouse trap with like a $2 bill in it. And if you took the $2 bill out of that little trap, it would trigger the silent alarm. Yeah. So, in the course of emptying out the cash register, and I remember one of my coworkers one day accidentally doing that and putting it back. And then the next thing I know, the manager is calling and she's like, "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's fine." "Are you sure everything is okay?" "Yeah. Why wouldn't there be anything okay?" She goes, "Because I just got notified from the security company that the silent alarm was tripped, and I'm just making sure everything's okay. Now that everything is okay, you sure?" "I'm sure." She goes, "All right, I'll cancel, call the police. Here's the code and let them know." I said, "All right." So I call College Park, get a hold of the dispatcher, tell them where I'm at, and I'm telling them it's a false alarm. My coworker didn't realize that it would actually go off because he's an idiot, and my coworker's just looking at me, rolling his eyes. And then all of a sudden the dispatcher said, "Is everything all right?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "What is the code?" I gave her the code. She goes, "All right, I'll cancel the cars." I went, "Okay." So I got off the phone with her and I said, "Cars." "Anthony," she said, "cars. That's more than one." He goes, "Cars?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Do you realize what a change of wardrobe I would need if I looked out the window and saw about 5 cop cars in the parking lot?"
Yeah, yeah, we're told to not even hit the panic button until they've left the premises, because you don't want to risk them knowing what you've done and taking it out on you. You know,
Yeah.
so it ain't my money. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it don't happen. And I
Yeah.
would feel bad about it, but I'm not going to risk my life over it. And they're not going to get that much. The most you're going to get out of me is if you happen to catch me before I'm able to make a drop, you might get like $300 out of the register.
Yeah.
If it's time for a drop and I haven't had chance to make, because I've been too busy. And out of the change safe, which is the safe where we could, if you run out of quarters or pennies or dimes or fives or ones, we've got a change safe, so you can get that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's only got 350 in it, so you're not going to get a lot of money out of there.
Mm-mm.
What cracks me up is we've had, and this kills me because you have to bend over and bending over constantly, which I do, just kills my back and hips. We've had to move our lottery tickets to below the counter
Oh, yeah.
because the same guy twice tried to run off with the lottery tickets. He grabbed the whole thing, the whole display, holding all 31 kinds of scratch off tickets, and tried to run off with them.
Does
Now
he have?
he's in jail doing
Yeah.
time right now, but I don't know what he thought they were going to do with it, because all it takes is a phone call and every one of those is canceled.
Yeah.
You can't cash them in. This big thing that's, what, 3 feet by 3 feet.
Mhm.
This lottery container is kind of hard to hide as you're running down the street.
Yeah.
He didn't even have a car. He was on foot.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Uh, so yeah, because of that, we've had to move it under the counter, which is a pain for two reasons. That means I have to bend over,
Yeah.
and the bottom row is almost to the floor.
Oh.
To get the tickets. And at the beginning of each shift and at the end of each shift, I have to count the lottery tickets. And by counting them, that doesn't mean you count every ticket. The
No,
lottery tickets have a serial number on the back of them,
Yep.
and you have to write down the last number of each one at the
Mhm.
beginning and end of your shifts. But for that, there's a little step stool we have back there, because the girls are also short and they can't reach the top rows. And I sit on that step stool and sit there and count them, when I
Yeah.
have to. But it's a pain, all because people are stupid.
Yep. Stupid people. Stupid is as stupid does.
But yeah, yeah, I told you it's not a good neighborhood. It's my neighborhood. I've told you guys over and over, I live in a redneck hood. I live in a
Mhm.
redneck ghetto full of white trash. And it's not a joke. It's true. And they're not the brightest of people, especially if they're on the meth, which half the people here probably are. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I just yeah, I the The neighborhood I used to work in was not the best neighborhood. Let's just say we were in front of a whole street full of apartment buildings, and there was lots of action every day. At least, one or two cop cars would go up the street next to us to go to one of the apartment complexes. And there used to be a round table in the deli area, and there were four cops standing around the table one day when you heard the dispatcher go, "We have a 29 domestic and such and such, Godby Road, apartment such and such." And each of them in turn, is like they pointed at one another and went, "You take it." And then one cop lifted his, "Look, I took the last domestic call, so I'm out of this one."
Yeah, they don't like those domestics because they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm. They don't know what they're walking into.
Yeah. I used to, right after I first got married, I worked at a gas station, and this is back in the days where you had to actually, even on the self-service, you went outside, you cleaned their windows, you checked the oil. This is even on self-service.
Yeah.
They didn't come to you at a cash register. You went out to them, and I had one of those coin changers on my hip.
Oh, yeah.
And carried the money in my pocket. And if they wanted cigarettes, you went back. We had a cigarette cabinet that was actually outside. It was safe from the weather, but it was outside. You went to it and got their cigarettes, come back. And there was a Noble Romans right across the street. Noble Romans Pizza.
Okay.
And it got robbed constantly.
Wow.
I would look over there and the cops would be over there. And I was like, that place gets robbed all the time. When's it going to be my turn over here? Just across the street. Yeah.
Yeah. Our problem was drive-bys. We had so many drive-bys, drive-offs. For those of you that don't know what that is when they put gas in their car and they don't pay for it when they drive off. So we had so many of those that we got to the point where all we had to do was call the police station, and they'd go, "Did you get the description of the car?" "Yes." "What is the description of the car?" "Did you happen to get a license plate?" "Yes." "If not, no biggie." "All right, here's your case number."
Well, I was always scared to death to get robbed there because there at that gas station, if I'm short here, I could get in trouble if it's by enough, if my drawer is short.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to pay that money back. And generally I'm not. My drawers are usually, I'm anal. So my drawers are at least within a penny or two of being correct. And it's easy to get back too many pennies. That's really easy. So that's understood. They don't even blink an eye at that.
Yeah.
We actually keep a little, because people say, keep your change. I don't want the change. And we've got a, take one, leave one kind of policy.
Yeah.
And so if we're a few cents short, we go to our little pool and pull it out and make the drawer right. Done. Yeah. But at that gas station, every shortage come out of your pocket. Ooh. I can remember one time we still had a full service island, and somebody came, filled up at the full service island and dashed. And they filled up with premium. This was not cheap. And I had to pay it because it was on my shift.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I was always afraid of getting robbed. I'm like, I don't got that kind of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully it hasn't happened here at Smoke Shop. Hope it never does. For the most part, most people are nice, and me, I got the gift of gab. I can joke with people, and I'm the same with my customers. As soon as they walk in the door, I'm going, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Even whether I've seen them or not, that's just the way it is. But yeah, Jedi Ghostbear says that kind of against the law. Well, this is the very early 80s. I was just married. I don't know if it was against the law then. That's just the way. And I was just a kid, early 20s. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
They probably were taking advantage of them. Somebody mentioned earlier, and I've lost track of who it was. I'm sorry. But they said, this is the reason that they think everybody ought to work retail at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Lyle. Yeah. And I agree. because it would give people perspective of what it's like to be on the other side of that cash register.
Yeah.
Because you get so many people that treat the people at the cash register like they're less than human. They're just there to take your abuse.
Mm-hmm.
In
Oh, it's
fact,
not only that; it's servers, it's
yeah,
delivery
exactly.
drivers get it too because they don't realize that if your pizza's late, that's not 9 times out of 10, that's not your delivery driver's fault.
Yeah, it's not. And, uh, you know, I think it'd be a good idea. Sir, I think I agree that they should. And there was a video that made its rounds on Twitter just recently in the last few days of some guy laughing because his wife was abusing some cashier somewhere. I forget where, but I was like, really? You think that's funny?
Yeah, yeah,
That
I
poor
quote.
girl's just a girl trying to do a job, you know?
Yeah, I quote tweeted that and did like a 3-part thread because I freaking ranted. I'm like, I can't let this go. Because no, it's not our if we're out, it's not our fault. It's like we would get that working at Party City. I would get that all the time during the Halloween season because where most retail places, Christmas is their big thing. Party City, Halloween is their Christmas. But we would only have a certain amount of each of the costumes available. And there would always be your people that would wait until the last freaking minute, like 2-3 days before Halloween, to bring their kid into Party City to get the costume. And we'd hear it. Why are you guys always out of this? And my kid wanted to be this, but you're always out of this. And why do you need to be out of this all the time? And you guys are out of everything. I can't believe it. One day before Halloween, you're going to yell at us that we're out of fucking costumes when you could have been here when the
Yeah,
display came up.
it happens to me all the time. We'll run out of a certain cigarette before truck day, because maybe enough, or we didn't expect to sell that many, or out of a certain tobacco or some product. I even run out of lottery tickets. I'm not a manager, so I'm not allowed to refill the lottery thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And that has to be done by management, and there's a process that has to be gone through to do that. To activate those lottery tickets have to be activated before they're legal to sell. And it happens. Yeah, most people are understanding, but yeah, you get those few that's like, what kind of play? Maybe I'll take my business somewhere else. And you're tempted to say, okay,
Yeah. I mean,
bye.
I was, trying to explain it in a very diplomatic manner, but they kept yelling at me. I'm like, well, one moment, please. One moment. I went into the break room, knocked on the manager's door, and she goes, "Do we have a problem?" I said, "You need to speak to the customer out there at the wall where we have our lovely little picture wall. Yeah, because if she calls me a dumb bitch one more time, I'm going to be fired, and the police are going to be called upon me because I'm going to be harassed. I'm this close to losing my She goes, "I'll go talk to her."
Yeah, Pat says I would have been like, why'd you wait to the last minute? And that
Mm-hmm.
happens too. A couple of weeks ago, we normally close at 7, but on Fridays and Saturdays we're open till 8. Don't know why, because we really don't do any extra business in that extra hour. Because most people don't even realize we're open an hour later on those days,
Yeah.
but we are. And this was on a Saturday night. And just as I locked the door, and I didn't lock it ahead of time because they do watch on the cameras, you'll get in trouble if you lock it early. It was closing time. I'd locked the door, turned off the open sign, turned off the lottery sign, turned around to turn off the little Zippo display, that turns around that shows the Zippos, and turned off one of the house lights and looked up, and there's a guy pounding on the door. He came from the bar next door, wanting me to sell him a lottery ticket. And I'm on the other, I'm refusing to open the door. I'm not going to open it. And I was like, no, we're closed. We're closed. We're closed. And he finally ended up, saying, cussing me out on the other side of the door, all for a lottery ticket. And I'm like, we were open an hour later to begin with. So you had an hour longer to get here.
Mm-hmm.
You've been sitting over in that bar drinking.
Yep.
Why did you wait to the last second?
Yeah.
Because this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's closing time, I'm not reopening that door. I could have done it. I hadn't shut the cashier, the register off yet or anything like that.
Yeah.
Hadn't pulled my drawer. I could have done it, but it was, look, these are our hours, and I'm tired. I deserve to go home just like everybody else,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
I got things to do before I can go home. They don't
Hmm.
get that. They're like, I guess they think that the second is closing. Well, the person behind the cashier just gets to go home. No, 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 no.
No. Did
I have to finish counting my lottery and my cigarettes if I didn't have a chance to before we closed.
Yep.
I have to count my drawer down.
Paperwork.
Got to do the paperwork for it. I've got to print off stuff for the lottery. I've got to reconcile my drawer online because everything's done online now, everywhere you go. Uh, which
Yeah.
usually, now that I've in a routine and I'm used to what I'm doing, I can usually get out of there 15 or 16 minutes after I lock the front door.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't take me long unless there's a problem with the door. And then you got to try to figure out, okay, why is this drawer so short? Why is this off?
Yeah.
Because you know what it's supposed to be, because at the end of your shift, you print off a tape that tells you this is
Yep.
what should be in your drawer.
Yep.
And this is how much you should be dropping for the last drop. And it's like, I don't know. It was one day last week. They started me off with a really crappy drawer.
Ooh.
0 ones in the drawer. No ones.
Wow.
Now, anybody that's been a cashier knows you got to have a ton of ones. To start
Yeah.
with it. 1 5, $100 in 20s, which are useless.
The fuck?
And no nickels. This is the
my
drawer.
God.
So I had to buy all this stuff to start my shift, right?
Oh,
Well,
my eyes twitching. God damn.
Which screwed me up.
Yeah.
And what I found out was I had not paid the drawer or paid the safe when I bought change. I didn't realize it. So my drawer was $30 over, but it took me a half hour to figure it all out.
Jeez.
I was actually good. I was right on the money to what I was supposed to be. I just had $30 too much money in my drawer because I hadn't paid the safe.
Right.
It's like, oh, crap.
I didn't realize it. One of the managers, after we closed in Party City, you got to sweep the floor, you got to recover the store, even though you're trying to do it during while the store is open. Now try that 3 days before Halloween.
Yeah.
It was nothing during Halloween season. The closer it got to Halloween, for us to not be able to even leave the store because it wasn't straight till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, only to be back at like 11 the next day to do it all over again.
Yeah. Yep.
So we had just closed the door, we locked it and everything, and I went to go get a broom, and I'm sweeping with the push thing we call the dust mop, and I hear rattle rattle, rattle rattle, and I'm looking around the corner, walk up the aisle. There's these 2 girls standing on the other side of the door, and they're like, "Are you closed?" and I went, "Yes, we're closed." Okay, they walk away, and I didn't realize the manager heard me because I mumbled under my breath. I knew they couldn't hear me because they were already gone. I'm like, "No, we're wide open. We just locked the door for the hell of it to see how many stupid people rattle it." Yeah, sure, we open 24/7 here at Party City. Really?
Yep.
Oh God.
So yeah, I mean, people are silly. People are silly. I just this last week I had a fella come up 15 minutes after closing and tried to go in the door. Now the sign's off, all the lights are off inside. I'd already had all the lights off except for the display cases. I was working on those. We have these big glass display cases that we have our quote unquote glassware in.
Right.
All the pipes, bongs, one hitters, all that stuff. And you have to go they've got lights inside of those that you got to turn off and then lock them and blah, blah, blah. That's the last thing you do before you go shut your register down. I'm already over there turning those lights off. I look up and he's pulling on the door, trying to get in, looking inside. And I'm like, we're closed, dude. Come on. The lights are all off.
Right?
It's dark in here.
Door's locked. Apparently, I need to ask for entry. No, door locked means we're closed. Why is this a hard concept for some people to get? I'm like, not every store is 24/7. If it's locked, we're closed.
But when I started shifting, and you know this is what we were getting at a while ago. People that haven't worked retail maybe don't understand. 5s and 1s are critical to a fresh drawer.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot start a shift without lots of 5s and lots of 1s.
Yeah.
Preferably, I like to have at least $40 in 1s and probably $100 in 5s.
Yeah.
You can use the 5s as a 10 if you don't get any 10s.
Yeah.
20s are useless to start a shift. They just sit there.
Yeah.
You know, now I do like to collect 20s as I go on because we do the lottery. And if I get $100 payout or something like that, then they're useful. But
yeah,
I couldn't believe, first of all, the assistant manager that worked earlier in the day that I took over for was supposed to fix that drawer. That's their job. They're supposed to look at the 2 drawers from the day before and fix them.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. Second of all, the person who left that drawer the night before has been warned to not drop her 1s and 5s and keep 20s, but she keeps doing it.
Jeez.
Like, how do you not have any 1s?
Right? It was like when I used to work at the convenience store, we had, I guess, people from out of town or something like that. Because in Georgia, you used to have to stop selling alcohol at 1:45 to midnight. Now, with my little way of talking, people would go, "Well, when's the cutoff?" And I go, 1:15 till tomorrow. And they'd look at me confused. And they're like, "What do you mean 1:15 till tomorrow?" 11:45. Oh, you mean 1:15 to midnight? That's what I said. 1:15 till tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, that was my one little customer service satisfaction I had of completely confusing people because I didn't cuss them out. I wasn't rude, and I was answering their question. Wasn't my fault. I confused the crap out of them with the way I worded it. And then there were those when I was working at a truck stop one time. There was this sign, neon sign, said restrooms right next to the opening to the restrooms. So the guy training me had to hold his laughter because people would come in and go, "Where are your restrooms?" And I go, "You see the neon sign a little further down that says restrooms? Just take a left when you get to it."
Well, we being next door to a bar, we often get people in there. You have a restroom? Not a public one, no. Well, can I use your restroom? No. Sorry. They'll be doing the pee-pee dance, because they've been drinking. Like, I'm sorry. Go back to the bar. I'm sure they got a restroom for you. And no, Ronan, you don't want to do that unless you want to get an earful of some redneck cursing.
Yeah, the stuff you deal with in retail is just. We had this one lady think that she could walk out of the Party City with a cart full of unpaid goods because she had an extra large gift bag on top of all the crap she was trying to shoplift. So the assistant manager stopped her, and before she got out the door, which means it wasn't technically a shoplift because we caught them before they left. They wound up leaving, and she told me to, put the stuff back. I said, "Do you mind if I satisfy a curiosity by listing everything?" And then, she goes, No, I'm curious. What is the retail value of everything in that cart? If you don't mind doing that to me, that's not too much work. I said, No, I'm curious to find out how much in dollars she would have actually stolen if nobody would have seen her walk out the door with this cart full of stuff. So I'm listing it down with the prices out to the side and everything. And I get everything recovered from the cart, and I add everything up and add in the tax. $575 and some change worth of party shit was what she would have walked out with if nobody would have seen her roll the cart out the front door. And I'm like, "What do you do with this much shit?" And the assistant manager looked at me. She goes, "It's not that they use it. It's that they shoplift it, wait a couple of weeks, distribute it amongst their friends, and then try and get refunded for it without a receipt."
Yep.
I went, "Oh, She goes, you didn't know that? I said, I'm a convenience store person. I didn't know that. She goes,
Yeah.
they didn't do that at convenience. I said, no, you don't return beer at a convenience store.
Yeah. It's absolutely impossible for me to do a return without a receipt because the receipt has a barcode at the bottom of it that has to be scanned for any return. So I
Yeah.
can't do it. It's impossible. And there are items that are non-returnable. Our cigarette machines, that make the cigarettes are
Yeah.
non-returnable. You have to return those to the manufacturer. All of our glassware, the pipes, the bongs, all that stuff are non-returnable.
Yeah.
I had a lady come in and bought a bunch of stuff out of there and never even left and come back in and wanted to return it. And I had to say, I'm sorry. I told you this is non-returnable. Because you tell them when they buy it, before you ring them up. Okay, now this stuff you can't return it. There's no returns.
Yeah. Oh, it just says, as a side note, oh, baby, I love you. I need cigarettes. It's like
Yeah.
there was some stuff that was returnable. Some stuff it's like after a certain point, past a certain date in Party City, all we did was accept exchanges. And after a secondary date during the Halloween season, we didn't even do that. So all purchases were final at a point in time. And it's like these people didn't realize this. And if you bought any of the undergarments that went with certain well, let's just face it, look like freaking lingerie. So that's what I'm going to call it. Lingerie type costumes to where, a certain part of the costume actually touched a certain part of your anatomy. That was no refund from the start. I mean, it's a no brainer. You can't bring that back. Okay. Especially if the package is open. If the package isn't open, fine. If we can tell that the package hasn't been opened and the seals haven't been broken, then fine. Normal standard refund policies apply. But if you try and bring it back after you've opened it, no.
Yeah.
We can't take that.
Yeah. I had a guy ask me that he was one of those in there. It wasn't for him, so he wasn't sure what he was buying, and he bought bulk tobacco to roll your own. So I'm not sure if this is the right brand. It's for my sister. Can I bring it back if it's the wrong one? I said, sure, but as long as it's not opened. If it's opened, you're out of luck.
Yeah. Would that be them at the door?
No.
Okay.
Cynic says, I mean, if my Crohn's is griefing me and you won't let me in the door, I'll just pop a squat at your front door. That's all well and good, Cynic. But understand, in our situation, there's a bar right next door to us that has public restrooms, and there is a family dollar store down on the other side of that has public restrooms. So, yeah, it's not like we're the only stop. And plus, to get to our employee bathroom, you have to go through the back office, which there is money and other things that we don't want you to have access to back there.
Yeah. Plus, working at it was like that one store. I can't remember which one it was. No, I can. It was the one in Noonan. The corporate was like, well, you just need one person behind the register, one person on the floor, and then the manager or the assistant manager. Okay, well, all right. Turn of the new year, they come in for inventory, and everybody in the chat's gonna go, holy fuck. When the report came back for shrinkage, in other words, how much the store was in the hole for stolen goods, it was over $40,000 short on inventory for the year because people were walking out and we didn't have enough people on the floor to prevent it.
Cynic, you can have all the plastic bags I got. I miss you, buddy. I do. I miss you. Me and Cynic used to play quite a lot of games together. So, yeah. Who knew when I went into this, I was going to spend the whole 2 hours talking about
cigarettes and
my
retail?
my line of work. Yeah, didn't mean to, because I think it's probably boring for half of you, unless you've been in retail too, like Maddie, and then you can relate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just goes to show that this live stream is like a box of chocolate. It was Christmas Eve, and one of the assistant regional managers to our business, because it is part of a corporation, came and sat with me a couple hours and was just talking with. I think she was watching me, is what it was. But she was just sitting talking. She was asked. She'd heard that I'd done a YouTube channel, and she was asking me about it. And
Yeah.
and I was trying to explain what I do to her. Of course, being a non-internet person, it was hard for her to comprehend.
Yeah.
Tried to explain Redneck Trek to her, and I think that went totally over her head.
I remember I was at an interview one time and I cracked up the guy. He goes, "What exactly did you do here?" I worked at an assembly warehouse for a short time doing light industrial work where you had to sort out pieces, count them, and put them in this machine to make the boxes for all the screws and washers for like charbroil grills and stuff like that. So I was one of the girls that would literally you count, pick, sort, put. That was it. Count,
Yeah.
pick, sort, put. So the guy, when I told him the technical thing, and he goes, "All right, now that you've explained to me the technicalities of what you had to do, how would you explain it?" Because it was for a job that was, looking for creativity. I'm like, "Just bluntly?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you come in, you put your brain in a locker, you clock in, you sit at your seat, and you count, pick, sort, put, count, pick, sort, put, count, pick, sort, put. You get 15-minute breaks, you get a half hour for lunch, and at the end of your count, pick, sorting, and putting, you stand up, you clock out, you take your brain out of your locker, put it back in your head, and go home." He cracked up laughing. I mean, he goes, "Was that the reason why you left?" I said, "Yeah, it was mindless. It was driving me nuts."
Yeah. Dark Law says a friend of mine has seen you in game. Oh, really? Is that Star Trek Online? I assume you're saying it. I always wondered if anybody had ever seen me in there. I wouldn't know because while I'm recording for that, I turn the chat off. So I'm not interrupted.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know. But yeah, always wondered. Yep. Okay. Well, hey, have him say hello the next time. In fact, I'll be recording footage for that a little later today. As a matter of fact, but yeah, the regional assistant regional manager was in there, and I was trying, and she asked, "What kind of channel is it? What kind of live stream do you do?" And I told her exactly that. Well, it's like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're gonna get. We
Nope.
talk about just whatever.
Yep. This was an idea you had a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away of sitting around a kitchen table and just BSing for a couple hours with your
Yeah.
neighbors.
Well, that's what they used to do when I was a kid, and I miss that, and that's what I wanted this stream to be. So I hope that I've accomplished that. I believe I have, but I hope. W hasn't taken a blow yet, too. I'm so proud of it. Yeah, I realized that I hadn't mentioned it, but yeah, I haven't. It's working on me now. I'm definitely going to have to go after the stream's over. I did. I made it all the way through. Yeah. But speaking of, we're at the end of it, and we're at the time where I thank everybody for coming out and supporting the channel with their likes, with their chats and their comments, and thank you to those that were able to go a little step further and donate. Appreciate that. It'll go to a good cause, and I appreciate all of you. This channel could not exist without you. That is a fact. Thank you for Maddie. It was really short notice. You guys don't know, but I didn't even ask her if she could come on until I seen her in chat. So, but thank you for coming on. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, this is my blog because in 2020 I'm going to be focusing more on my writing and my geek channel than I am on my news channel. Because those of you that have been following me on my main account realize how badly YouTube and Google have screwed my main account. Because I have been very open about that, very frustrated with it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the main channel. But I am going to focus on the geek stuff and writing because my goal for 2020 is to at least finish editing and get one book published next year.
Oh, well, that's a good goal. That's a good goal. Well, as for me, as I said, I'm going to be recording footage for Redneck Trek, the next episode of Redneck Trek, a little later today, and doing the voice work for it either tonight or tomorrow night. So it should be ready to go by Sunday. As far as I know, I'm supposed to be off Sunday, but that regional assistant manager that I mentioned is going to take over our scheduling duties until our manager is able to come back. So I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
I do know that for sure I'm off Saturday, so there will be a stream Saturday. So check that out. And if I do have to work Sunday, which I shouldn't, but if I do, it'll premiere at 6 o'clock, just like it did this last week, because I don't close until 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that gives me time to get home, be a part of the chat, and relax for a second before it happens. So, but thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you again, Maddie. Thanks for sticking with us while we just talked about personal stuff. and I didn't see the numbers go down. We've hovered about the same numbers, so hopefully we didn't bore you. I don't think we did. Good job. And yes, Pat, be sure to check out his latest video on Psycho Rick. Absolutely. Yeah. You're more than welcome to to shill Pat on my channel. You know that. That's one of the reasons you have a wrench. But anyway, thanks everybody. Hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you have a good rest of your week. And having said that, get out of my yard.
Bye.